Again, my name is Edward Lewis. I am the department historian. I guess I am also the de facto writer's historian. So once again, if you guys have questions, let me know. We've got a couple of really good writer's historians in this room. And before I start with my presentation, I want to tell you something. If you guys want to see a great social media page for the writers, I recommend you go to the 5th District Facebook page for the writers. Ms. Keener does an amazing job. She is constantly doing photos, articles, and basically anything you want to know about the 5th District, it's on their Facebook page. As a matter of fact, Verna bailed me out on Sunday at post 137 for the polar plunge, because I didn't know how to run video on my camera, believe it or not. So, or actually my phone. But Verna bailed me out by shooting video for me. So, once again, my name is Edward Lewis. I am your department historian. So, history book time frame. This is really important. It's 1 year, which means from the end of convention to the start of convention for 1 year. That means history books next year will be due on July 1st. They have to be turned in or dropped off by July 1st in Orlando. All right? Once again, the first day of convention. All right, I get so many questions, emails. When are history books due again? First day of convention. So just make certain that if we do have historians here, hopefully now that we're almost 6 months in to the year, that you guys are already working on your yearbooks. All right? All right, so the installation of officers, the next installation of officers. Basically, first day of convention is when they are due. All right, here's one thing. Everybody strives for perfection. And I promise you, of all the yearbooks that I have judged, I personally have never given it a perfect score. There's always little things that happen in the yearbooks, misnumbered pages, things like that. It's okay. It truly is okay, because there is no perfect yearbook. As much as people strive to be perfect, don't let it get you down if you don't think your book is perfect. Get one done and turn it in. That's what's important. So, where do we get all of our information? For your historians, where are they going to basically get the information? From members' reports, checkbook records. Believe it or not, checkbook records are very important, because there's a part in the yearbook where you have to show all of your donations. Well, unless your historian is taking great records, you know, easiest thing, talk to your finance officer and go, hey, where did we give the money to this year? All right, hopefully they're getting it, but your finance officer will help you create your yearbook. Call your members. Anybody who was involved in a special presentation or an event, call them. Get information from them. Meeting minutes. If you have the writers, is it the secretary? Or do you guys have a secretary or an adjutant?
Adjutant. Secretary.
Okay.
Secretary.
Okay. Well, your adjutant / secretary, get copies of meeting minutes. That's a great way of getting information for your yearbook. Post calendars and news clippings. Your historian, besides doing the records of the post for the yearbook, they should be doing things like, if you guys have a special ride that's raising money, I know the Toys for Tots ride in my county is really huge. have your post historian send out a sample press release. As a matter of fact, on that reference sheet, there is a website to how to write press releases. So, here are some of the things to keep in mind about the competition. All right. Where do you get the guidelines? Every post is issued the officer's guide, manual of ceremonies. I'll actually put the web address on it so you can download it offline and just print it out yourself if your commander is hard to get in touch with. So, even though there are kind of strict guidelines, the fact of the matter is, the judges, which this year will be me, there is room for creativity, all right? A little creativity goes a long way. So please, think outside the box. You know, there's different ways to list the information. Bullet points may get boring. Adding photographs, graphics, that always helps. So, pictures. All right, if you guys see me around here, yeah, I'm walking around with a buttload of cameras and things like that. Honestly, today's cameras are just as good for a yearbook competition. You do not need to go out and buy a fancy camera. Your historians don't need to do that. Because with today's technology, cell phone cameras take very good pictures, clear enough that you can put them in a yearbook. All right? So, the KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid. All right? Only 3 or 4 photos. I've seen yearbook competition books that are 2 volumes long. Now you're allowed to enter 2 volumes, but the idea is to keep it nice and compact, informational, creative, but you also don't want to bore your readers. Yearbooks are very good, by the way, for membership. I always tell in any class I teach, yearbooks are great for membership. Why should I be a writer? Really? Here, take a look at what we did last year. Doesn't this look fun? Doesn't this look like this is a group that I want to be a part of? So if you do a very nice yearbook, it helps you with membership. All right? Leave the ephemera out. Leave all the fluff out. Like some people, oh, we went here and they put like a menu of a restaurant that all the writers went out. Keep that stuff out. Keep in mind the idea of doing a yearbook. This is the basic idea, that when you finish your yearbook, it's something that you could give to your local public library as, well, a history of what you guys do. So keep all the fluff out, and when you get the books back after competition, your historians can add all of that later. All right. For the scrapbook contest, as I mentioned, all of the rules, there's a couple of websites that I've included on the handouts where you can go and get all of the rules. And this is how the judging breaks out. Okay, the cover. Now, here's the thing that I believe. If the yearbooks that they sell in Emblem sales, I hope nobody's listening, I think they're too expensive. Yeah. And I think it makes it fiscally impossible for a historian, especially if you're a smaller post, don't have a huge budget, it makes it kind of hard to put together a really nice yearbook. So what I always recommend is a nice, well, I'll show you the one, just a notebook. Use the plastic sleeves to protect your pages. That's always great. The sleeves protect the pages, so it'll last longer than the acid-free paper and just pasting things into the yearbook. Okay? Now it says volume number if needed. Please try to keep, or ask your historians to keep their yearbooks down to 1 volume. Trust me. They'll thank me later when I judge these. Okay, arrangement. Obviously, systematic, logical, basically in time order, from the one thing that I know the winner did this year, she started her yearbook with the election of officers and the installation of officers. That's where your book should start, and then just continue out throughout the year. All right, chronological order, and easy for the reader to follow. I'm a journalism major, and I was taught in journalism school that when you write a story, you keep it to a 5th grade level, that a 5th grader could read it and they could understand. And so I would say, keep it simple, and it's a whole lot easier. Oh. Okay, identification. This is important. When you put photos in your yearbooks, identify the members that are in the photo. Large groups, I say more than 8 people. You don't need to identify each and every person, and you would just identify them as the city council, whatever city you're in, if you're there for a check presentation or what have you. But something like this photo, if you look at it, there's 25 people, or so in the photograph. 20 people. Now the thing about it that I personally know is once you shoot a group photo, all of a sudden everybody scatters. So it's kind of hard to identify 20 or so people in a photo. If you have 2, 3, 4 people in the photo, identify them in the yearbook. All right, clear-cut photo. Obviously, that's not a very good photograph. Thankfully, I didn't take it. But anyways, the thing about it, a lot of people overwhelm, like, look at all these photographs I've got in my yearbook. Well, you can barely see some of them. Just because you shoot the picture doesn't mean it's a good picture. Make certain that your historians are judicious in their editing. That just clear photos, sharp photos, well-exposed photographs, and proper arrangement, sort of like even if you're doing 4 or 5 pictures for an event, sort of keep even those in chronological order. Originality. Okay. This is one of the ways not to do things. If you look at that, that's very busy. While they were trying to be creative, it's very busy, hard to look at, hard to concentrate on what they're trying to say. So be original, but also keep it clean. All right? Now, the judges, part of the scoring is originality. All right? There's headings. When you look at the guidelines set forth in the officer's guide, there are guidelines on what you need to do. But there are certain items that aren't really covered in the guidebook. So that chapter you can make and be a little creative with that in regards to some of the things that you want to do that maybe it's not covered in the rules. All right? And once again, features that make the book more useful. Inaccuracies will have a disqualifying effect. Dates, names of people, things like that. For instance, let's just say Department Commander Rick Johnson goes to one of your events, and somebody says, Department Commander Bill Johnson was here. Well, yeah, that's gonna get you dinged, because you need to be correct in regards to telling your story and identifying your photographs. All right. If an item is in the book, you cannot give the book a 0, or the judges can't give a 0. As long as there was an attempt to be made you will get points for it. However, they start at 0. So basically on a scale of 0 to 10, if the attempt has been made, it's up to the judge's discretion on how many points to award. Okay, any questions about the scrapbook or yearbook that I just talked about? No one? Bueller? No one?
Oh,
Okay,
that's a good
yes.
question. The center front, you said
Yes.
has to be the Legion emblem, it wouldn't be the Riders?
No, it is the, okay, thank you for that. See, that's a very good question. Yes, on the cover, where it says the emblem needs to be centered, top to bottom, left to right, use, as a matter of fact, use the Riders emblem, okay? So, yes, that is one of the differences in regards to that. All right. So no other questions about the yearbook scrapbook?
Can you say again, please, what you were talking about with the notebook?
Yes.
Yeah, the size and like.
Okay. This is a standard 3-ring binder,
Right.
okay? And then what this year's winner did, she just bought the plastic sleeves and printed everything out on her home computer and basically just put them in the sleeves. It protects the work and it makes for a nicer presentation.
So with that, those binders come in different
Thicknesses.
thicknesses. So would the thickness?
Okay, see, very good question. See, I knew there were good questions. 3-inch max for thickness. So if you have more information than 3 inches of plastic pages, you're obviously overthinking things. So that is the basic information about yearbooks and history books. Yes, ma'am.
When you're identifying, it said use formal name, do you still want the writer's name in there too?
You know what? Once again, a very good question. For instance, let's see, Gambler. Oh, by the way, my writer's nickname is Snappy. So yes, you can put in, you know, first and then in quotes their writer's name. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine because your audience is writers.
Right, and a lot of people know them by their writer name versus their
Yep.
real name.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
I didn't know Snappy was Edward Lewis.
You didn't? No. Get out of
I
here.
was used to seeing Snappy.
Yeah. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Supposed to have an index?
Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't. At the end of your book, thank you very much for, see, I knew there was something I wouldn't cover. Okay, at the end of the book, you should index all of the photographs or the names of people that you have used in your book. Alphabetical order, by last name. And think of it this way. Anybody ever get a high school yearbook? You know, at the end of the high school yearbook, you looked up all your friends or whatever to see what pages they were on. Please do that. Please index everybody in your book. That is the toughest thing to do when doing a yearbook. That's why it's so important to ID all of your photographs. All right? Please do not make up names. You know, if you don't get a guy's name, just put unknown instead of making up some guy's name in the book. Because I've seen too many Joe Smiths in yearbooks and, you know, John Jones, things like that. Try to stay away from that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
If I'm understanding this right,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, people are voted in, or they're elected into their positions
Yes.
in June.
Yes.
Right, from June to June.
Right.
All right, so you said that that's the, dates for the book, right?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so, for instance, let's say you're elected historian, your first book wouldn't even be due until the following year.
Which would be next summer.
Yes, the following summer. So, one of the ways to keep a good yearbook, and you can pass this on to your historians, do it on a quarterly basis. Basically, the first 3 months, put together your book. Start from day one and start printing out your pages and start, laying out your book, because the last couple of weeks before convention is not the time to start your yearbook. If you start your yearbook then, you're already too far behind. It's always best to start right away. And quarterly basis, I know I keep files on a quarterly basis of everything that I've done. In my computer, my photographs are arranged by quarters, so I know exactly where to get them and where to print them from. And the nice thing about it, if your historian knows a program as simple as Word, you can lay out a yearbook in Word. You don't need expensive, like a publisher program. You don't need that.
We might want stuff, okay?
Well, the thing about it, you need Word, but on top of that, you need a $2,000 computer. How's that?
Okay.
Will that work?
That-
Okay. No, but the thing about it is just make certain that it's easy. None of us, officers, volunteers, we all do this for free. So it doesn't need to be super difficult. You have to have a passion for it, you truly do. So when you get a historian, well, first and foremost, how many writers, different writers groups do we have here? Are you guys in the same writers group?
Yep.
All right, same writers group? It's by yourself, by yourself? So we've got about
Colorado.
what, 10 writers groups in here?
Any other states?
Yeah. How many actually have historians? Okay. Well, they should be on top of their books by now. When you go back, and here's the thing: if it's their first year, it's pretty daunting when you look at what truly needs to be done. But once again, once you do it, the next year it gets easier. And I know certain groups, writers' organizations. As a matter of fact, the lady that won this year's, she's been trying for probably 5 or 6 years.
She started 13.
In 13, okay, so it was 7 years. 7 years of her entering a yearbook. And she finally got it down to where her book was perfect. Well, not perfect, but it was the winner. She did a great job. All right, how many social media people do we have here? Well, all right. Here's my social media training is very basic. Very basic. 2 things to remember. One thing, well, the first thing to remember, nobody wins a Facebook war. Facebook is not the place to have arguments about your writer's chapter, or your post, or the post bartender, or the post commander. Keep it off social media. Even on, I cannot edit because I'm a First Amendment believer, but please try to keep it even off your personal pages. Because all it does is it makes the organization look bad. And I think we all join the American Legion because we believe in the American Legion, we believe in the writers. So try to keep it nice, plain nice, because nobody will win a Facebook battle, okay? Here's something I didn't talk about in the yearbooks. Now, I'm a Legionnaire, a son, and a writer. However, I also like to have a cocktail or two. Try to keep out alcohol, out of your photos, and cigarettes. As much as, and cigars, try to keep those out of your pictures. The American Legion is very strict. Now on the department level side, that's one thing. But when your book goes to national, and last year I was up at national judging Legion yearbooks. And basically, if there was a picture with cigarettes, even though it was a great book, got automatically disqualified. So, so try to keep that out. If you have a photo editing program, it's pretty easy to crop your photo in a way where you crop out the bottles, things like that. But we all know that a lot of us enjoy the canteen. I don't advocate, drinking and smoking, but, the thing about it is we do it, but try to keep it out of your yearbooks. Because once again, your yearbook should be something you'd be proud to give to your community library and say, this is who we are, this is what we do. And so you gotta try to keep it that way. Social media, if you don't have a social media person in your writers group, I would recommend that your historian does social media for you, because if they're there with a camera to shoot photographs of your events, well, they can post them on Facebook for you too. And I'll give you a perfect example of the power of social media. Last Sunday at Post 137 in Jacksonville, they did a polar plunge. Department Commander Rick Johnson was up there going to jump in their swimming pool to raise money for one of his charities, CODA, Children Organ Transplant Association. Well, we didn't realize that we were supposed to do fundraising beforehand, like get on the phone and ask people. I immediately posted something on Facebook. And then I got on the phone, just like doing buddy checks, and I called all my friends that were post commanders and say, hey, Rick's jumping in the water. What do you want to pledge? Within 24 hours, we raised $10,000 for CODA. Thank you. But we were able to do it just using social media, and the great thing is social media lasts forever, which is why you want to kind of monitor your social media. Rick is still getting pledges now for CODA from 3 days ago, because we posted the photos of what the event was really like. And once again, thanks to Miss Keener here, she shot the video and did a really nice video. So when you're doing your Facebook pages, pictures work. Every cell phone now takes video, so you try video. And I highly recommend going to the 5th District ALR Facebook page. It's fantastic. So, are there any other questions now that I've... Yes, ma'am. Feel free. By the way...
Sorry. You mentioned that you want to limit the amount of photos per
event, yeah.
Like for 4,
4 or 5.
All right, so how do you determine, what do you look for in a photo? I mean, since you're wanting it limited to 4
right.
or 5. So what?
Try to kind of tell the story. I mean, if the event is a big event, for instance, I know, Post 252 in Seminole, they do a Santa Claus for, what organization is it?
Carlson Manor.
Yeah, they sponsor a bunch of kids, give out Christmas presents.
Okay. All
right. You don't need to do a photo of every child getting a present, but you try to tell a story with your photographs. I go by the old dictum that a picture's worth 1,000 words. Keep it to a small novella, keep it down, without just every single person at every single event doesn't need to be photographed to tell the story. I know they like to get their pictures on Facebook and things like that, but in your yearbook, you just need to tell the story. You do have to be a storyteller with your camera or what have you. So if it's more than 5, it doesn't have a disqualifying effect. But once again, try to keep your book clean without a million photos, okay? But there's no maximum, no minimum. I just like to tell people 4 or 5 photos should tell the story of the event. Any other questions?
Can I give a tip?
Okay.
One of the things that I learned actually from past commander at 233, he came up to me and said to me, "You take great photos, but we have no clue what the photos are about."
Mhm.
And he said, put in there why you're doing it, for who you're doing it. And it's amazing because not everybody knows all these charities.
Mhm.
And once it's public on social media, it gets shared by someone in Colorado, someone in Alaska, and they're going, well, we don't know what Canines for Warriors do.
Mhm.
What's the purpose? So I always I will go to the site of the charity, copy their link, and get their snippet of their mission, and I'll always put it in there. And I think you also educate people about the charity, and people understand that you're just not riding on a motorcycle ride to nowhere.
Mhm.
So it shows a purpose.
Yes, it does. See, this is why she's such a good historian for the 5th District ALR. Now, once again, go to her page, check it out.